Welcome to another free video tutorial brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I am your instructor, Richard Rost. In today's class, I'm going to show you how to build an Access customer database from scratch. We're going to build a basic customer table and a customer form. If you'd like to download the database file associated with this video, you can visit my website. There's a link right there. I'll also put the link in the video description below so you can click on it. If you want to learn how to do this from scratch and learn how to do it the right way, I suggest you build this database with me following along with the video. However, I know some people like to just download the database and look through it and they learn that way. So whatever works for you, you can download a free copy of the template right there from my website. Let's begin by opening up Microsoft Access. Now this lesson will work just fine whether you're using Access 2007 or up. So 2010, 13, 16, 19, all those versions, this will work just fine. Now the first thing we have to do is set up our blank database, a brand new database. And there's a couple of different options that I like to set in my new databases. And I'm going to show you what those are right now. So let's begin by picking blank database. Give it a good name. I'm going to call this my customer database, just customer.accdb. That's just a file extension for Microsoft Access. And you may or may not see that depending on your Windows settings. If you don't have file extensions turned on, you won't see that. Just put in customer. It's going to save this database in your documents folder. Mine is C users Richard documents. You can see it right there. You can save it wherever you want by clicking on this browse button, but that's okay for now. I'm going to go ahead and click on create. Now, if you're new to Access, normally Access runs in this tabbed view where every table and form and object that you open goes in little tabs across the top. I don't like that. I like the old style that Access used to use windows inside of the main Access window. So we're going to make one quick change to our basic database before we continue. I'm going to close down this thing here. This is table 1. Hit that X. That closes that. And now we're going to click on File and then come down to Options. Then I want you to click on Current Database right here. And down here where it says Document Window Options, click on Overlapping Windows. I don't like the tab document interface. I like overlapping windows. That's really just a personal preference, but I've been using Access since the early 90s, and that's just the way I like to build my databases. I like windows. I don't like tabs. It's just easier to use. Okay, now come down here in the bottom right corner, click OK. And now Access says you must close and reopen the current database for the specified option to take effect. That's okay. Click on that. Close down your database. And then open Access again. Or you can go directly to your Documents folder and open it from there. I'll just open it from here since it's right there on my desktop. And you should see your customer database right here up on the top. If you want, you can pin this by hitting the pin button here. And now it'll say it's under pinned, which means it'll always stay on top of your list. Go ahead and click on it now. That'll open it up. And once your database opens up, the first thing you might see is this security warning. It says some active content has been disabled. That's just saying that Access wants to make sure that this database is safe that you're opening. So I'm going to click on Enable Content because, yes, Access databases can be programmed to do some malicious things. If you get a database from someone else in email or whatever, be very careful if you open it up. So don't click on that unless you're absolutely positive that this is a safe database. All right, so now we've got our basic database shell built. This is an empty database with no objects in it. And if I slide this bar over here, you can see it says All Access Objects. This is where our objects are going to go. Our tables, our queries, our forms, our reports. And I teach what all of those different things are in my full Access classes. But for today, we're just going to work with a table and a form. Basically, a table is what stores your data. All of the information that you put in your database is stored in one or more tables. Today we're going to make a customer table. Forms are used to work with that information in a pretty interface on the screen. That's what a form is. You can lay it out the way that you want, and you'll see how to do it in just a few minutes here. Forms are not to be confused with reports. Reports are used for printing things on paper. That's what reports are for. So let's begin by creating our customer table. Now I'm going to click on the Create option here on the menu, and this menu bar pops open. You may always see this menu bar open. For beginner users, I usually recommend that you set this so it stays open all the time. For expert users, you can turn that off. And the way you turn it on and off is just double click on any menu item up here. For example, double click on Create, and then it opens up the menu and it stays open. So for beginner users, I like to tell them just leave this open so you always see the options. Now to create a table, there's many different ways to do it. You can create the table using the table mode. I like table design. This is how I like to create a table. I want to set up the fields first in my table, and then go through and put the data in. You can set it up a different way, like an Excel spreadsheet where you just start typing data. I like to do it this way. We're going to specify what our fields are. Fields are different types of data. For example, first name, last name, and things like that. So I'm going to begin by typing in customer ID. I like to begin every table with an ID field. An ID field is basically going to be a number that Access will assign to each customer in this table. You don't have to worry about it, but later on it lets Access relate this information to other tables. And I cover this in my full lessons. But for now, we're going to pick a data type. All right, I'm going to pick auto number, which is right down here. An auto number basically starts at 1 and just counts up. Every time you add another record, it gets a new number. All right, I'm going to hit Tab. This is a description field. It's optional. You can type something in here if you want to. We're going to skip that for now. We don't really need that. All right, tab down here. First name, like that. I don't like to use spaces in my field names. Later on when we get into programming, in VBA, it becomes very difficult to work with field names that have spaces in them. So I like to go first, capital N for name. All right, tab, and that's a short text field. Short text, there's short text and there's long text. Short text can be anywhere from 1 to 255 characters, which should be plenty for a first name field. And I show you in my later classes how you can set that number to optimize the size of your database. You can bring that down to like 50. Not too many first names that are longer than 50 characters. All right, let's go last name. You can put whatever different fields you want in here for your business. You can put in here a company name. You can put in here a family name, whatever you want to put in there. I'm just going to stick with the simple customers and say that each customer is a person. Let's put an address in. So address, again, short text is fine. City, state. I'm in the USA, so I'm going to go zip code, just zip. You can put in postal code or whatever you want to put in there. In fact, if you do international business with Canada, England, Australia, whatever, you can put in postal code or whatever to keep it generic. I'm just going to keep it zip to keep it simple for today. You can add a country field if you want. Right, phone number. If you want to work with some different data types, you can put in here notes. Right, let's drop this down and put in here long text. That's a notes field. Long text can be pretty much as long as you want to. Yeah, there's an upper limit, but you don't have to worry about it. You'll never hit it. Let's say your business does a lot of promotions and you want to be able to send out an appropriate number of whatever the promotion is, movie tickets or whatever. So let's say you want to know the family size for each of your customers. Right? Family size. And from the list of options over here, I'm going to pick number. Now there's number, there's large number, there's a lot of different kinds of numbers. We're just going to go with number for now. I talk about the different kinds of numbers in my full classes. You might want to know how long this person has been a customer, so you can send out some kind of a gift after their first anniversary or whatever. So I'm going to put in here customer since, and that will be a date time. If you look at the list of options here, there's a date time field. And yes, there is a way to default that value to today, but again, I'll talk about that in a different class. And yes, there are tons and tons of options in Access, and I cover them all in my full classes. It's not that I don't want to cover them now, it's just that I'm trying to keep this lesson short. So if I covered all those options now, this would be a 6-hour lesson. So we're just going to cover the basics real fast. If you want to learn more about this stuff, send me an email. I'll tell you what lesson it's covered in. How about a credit limit? Right? How much credit are you going to extend this customer? That's a currency value. Currency. Sometimes you have old customers that, for any reason, stop becoming customers. Maybe they're deceased, or maybe they moved out of the area. So I'm going to put is active in here. Right? And that's going to be a yes or no value. You want to stop sending mailers and wasting postage on someone who's no longer a customer. But you don't want to delete their customer record because you might still need them in your database for accounting purposes, for example. Now, there's a bunch of other field types that we're not going to talk about today. There's OLE object. You can put pictures of your customers right in their record. There's hyperlinks you can use to put a link to their website. Attachments. You can add files like a Word document with a resume. Calculated fields. There's all kinds of different stuff you can do. These are the basics. These are the fields that you're usually going to work with in your tables. Auto numbers, short text, long text, number, date time, currency, yes, no. Those are the fields you're going to work with 99% of the time. So I'm going to hit Control S on my keyboard to save this table. I'm going to call this my customer T. This is just my personal preference. It's my own naming convention. I like to end all of my tables with the letter T. my queries with Q, my forms with F, and my reports with R. That's because later on, when we get into more advanced stuff, sometimes you need to know whether it's a table or a query that you're working with, like in your VBA code, and then you got to go back and figure it out. This way I know right away customer T is a table. So hit OK. Now it says there's no primary key defined. It said although a primary key isn't required, it's highly recommended. A table must have a primary key for you to define a relationship between this table and other tables in the database. Do you want to create a primary key now? What this is saying is Access wants you to have one field in your table that is a unique identifier. Guess what? We created one right there. It's called customer ID. It's an auto number. We just didn't define it as a primary key. Just say yes, and you'll see Access puts this little key marker over there on the left-hand side. That's the key for this table. In other words, it's got to always be unique for each record. No two can be the same. But since we're using an auto number, Access will automatically take care of that for us, and we don't have to worry about it. But later on, when we get more advanced and we set up relationships between tables like customers and orders, you need to know what that customer ID is to link it to their order. But that's in a later class. Okay, so now that I've got my table defined, I'm going to go ahead and close it. Upper right corner right there, close that table down. And now you'll see it right over here in the list of all Access objects under tables. Double click on it now, and it will open up in data entry mode. Let's go ahead and put a couple of records in. So my cursor right now is sitting on customer ID, and it says new in there. That's ready and waiting for you to enter a blank new record. Now we can't type anything in that field. It's an automatic number. So hit tab, put in a first name. I'll put myself in. Richard, tab, Rost, tab, my address. I'll just put 101 Main Street because I'm not telling y'all where I live. City, Cape Coral, Florida. My zip code is 33993. Now, country, I'm going to leave blank. What I usually do is, since my business is U.S. based, if the country field is blank, it's assumed to be U.S. because I'd say about 80% of my customers are in the U.S. So I just hit tab. Phone number, 716-555-1212. No, you're not getting my phone number either. Notes, you can put whatever in here that you want. A swell guy. Okay, family size, I'll put in there just one for me. Customer cents, I'll put in just 1. It'll default to the current year. Credit limit, $5,000. And is active is yes. I'll check that box on with the space bar, or you can click on it with the mouse. Tab, and then I'm down to the next row to put in a second record. All right, one more person. I'll put in James Kirk, 555 Park Avenue, Riverside, Iowa. Yes, I'm a Star Trek nerd. A zip code 52327, and yes, I had to Google a zip code from Riverside, Iowa. Phone number, let's see, 1701. No, I can't do that. 888-777-1701. Captain. Family size will go 1. Customer cents, 21. Credit limit, $4,000. Is active, yes. And so on. And you can continue adding as many customers as you want. Again, there's lots of tricks that we can cover in data entry. There's ways you can default certain values. For example, if you want to make is active the default choice yes, there's a way you can do that. I cover all these in my beginner classes. But for now, we're going to close down this table. And now we're going to build a customer form. Now the customer table is okay, and you can work with this. There's stuff you can do in here. You can add data in here. You can make edits. You can do sorting. If you drop these little boxes down, you can do filtering. You can work with the customer table if you really want to. But the real power of Microsoft Access comes between building nice forms. We're going to build a form so we can lay this information out in a nice, pretty way. Especially, this is handy if other people who maybe aren't as computer savvy as you are going to be working with your database. You don't really want newbies interacting with your tables. That's why you want to build forms. And in my later classes, I show you how you can actually lock the database so all they can access is what you give them access to. They can't go in and play with your tables. They have to go in through your forms. So let's build a customer form. I'm going to click on Create. Now there's many different ways to create forms. There's this tool right here where you just click on Form and it builds a form for you. That's what a form basically looks like. Right? There's different labels over here and text boxes where you can put your data in. But you know what? I'm not very happy with any of the results that the automatic form builders give you. So let's close this. I don't want to save this. Save changes, no. There's also this thing called the form wizard, which is right over here. All right. The form wizard lets you build a form by asking some questions. For example, you might not want all of the fields on the form. All right. You might just want a few fields, so you can pick them and move them over here. I'll move them all over. Hit next. There's different layouts you can pick for your form, right? Tabular, data sheet, justified. I like columnar. Hit next. Do you want to open the form and view or enter information or modify the form's design? Well, let's just go right to view information. So I'll hit finish. And this is what it builds for you. But again, I'm not really 100% happy with this layout. It doesn't really look exactly the way I want. Now, I could just modify this, or I could show you how to build a form from scratch, which is what I want to do. If you're in a hurry, sure, go ahead and throw a form together with this guy. But if you want to build a nice looking form, this is the way I like to do it. So let's go over here and hit close. Now it created a form for us right over here under forms called customer T. Just click on that and delete it. Let's get rid of that guy. Alright, so we're here to learn how to build a form the right way. So let's go to create and then form design. And when you create a form this way, you get a big empty blank form with a white background. Alright, I'm just going to grab the bottom and drag it up there. So that's about all the form we need. We don't need these big gigantic forms that Access tries to create for us. This should be nice and simple and compact. Now the first thing we have to do is tell this form where it's getting its data from. It needs to know what table, or later on we can pull from queries or multiple tables even, but for now we'll just focus on one table. We need to tell this form what table it's getting its data from. So what we're going to do is, see this little square right here where these two ruler bars meet? See that little square right there? Double click on that. And that opens up this thing called the property sheet. All right? The property sheet has all kinds of different properties for this particular form. All right? The format of the form, where its data comes from, different events. That's more advanced. We'll talk about that later. And there's some other weird things like pop-up and modal. But click on the data tab, and then right here you'll see a thing called record source. The record source is the table or query that this form is going to get its data from. So drop this little box down, and you'll see there's only one table in the database, customer T. Go ahead and click on that. And that's all we need this property sheet for. Now we can close it. Now the form knows that it's getting its data from the customer table. Now we're going to add controls like text boxes and labels and check boxes and things like that to this form so we can view the data. Now, up here under Form Design Tools, under Design, you'll see this toolbox. There's all kinds of different controls that we can add to our form. We can do these manually if we want to. All right? There's the text box and a label and all kinds of different stuff. Now, I cover all of these things in my full classes. But for this part of the class, I'm going to show you a shortcut. Come over here to the right and click on this box that says Add Existing Fields. Click on that. There's nothing wrong with using this guy. This is called the field list. And with the field list, we can very easily put fields from the table into our form. And all you have to do is click on it and drag it over. Watch this. I'm going to click and drag and drop it right about there. Boom. There's my customer ID field. All right. First name. Click and drag and drop it underneath the text box portion, like right there. See that? And if you want, you can click and drag these things up into the corner here, like so. See? Just click and drag. Make this a little bit wider by clicking on the side over there so you can resize that. See? Last name, click, drag, and drop. And I'll slide it right up there. See the little dots in the background? That's called the grid. Access wants you to line your objects up nice and square on that grid. All right, address. I'm going to slide address right up under here like that. Okay, maybe widen that out a little bit. If you want to bring multiple fields over at a time, click on City, hold the Shift key down on your keyboard, and then click on the last one, like that. City, State, Zip, and Country. Click, drag, drop them all over there like that. Now I'm going to do this. Watch. I'm going to bring City right there. State is usually a 2-digit abbreviation. All right. So I'm going to click on this label. This label is just going to say State on the form. It's going to just tell the user what to put in there. I'm going to delete this. Watch this. Delete. I'm going to delete Zip, and I'll leave Country alone. State, I'm going to slide right up here, like that, and maybe shrink that up, because that's just 2 digits usually. Okay? And the same thing with zip code. Slide that right there, and drop it, and then shrink it up. Maybe city's a little bit too wide. Let's do that. Make zip a little bit bigger. So you can move these things around nice and easily. Okay, just like that. Now to tell the user what's going on, I'm just going to modify this label. Right? Open the label up, click in here, and go city, state, zip. Just like that. And you can adjust these labels so they look a little more friendly, right? First space name, last space name, and so on. All right, country, slide it right there. Let's bring in the phone number right underneath here. Right, put the phone number there. You could do phone, fax, cell, whatever you want. In fact, in one of my other tutorials, I show you how you can make an unlimited number of phone numbers for each contact, which involves a second related table. Again, that's a different lesson, but yes, you can definitely do it. Same thing with multiple addresses. All right, notes I'm going to come back to, because that's going to be a big note box. Family size can go up under here. That's a short number, so I'll just leave that box short. Customer sense, right there. It's very difficult to get it on the spot on the first drag, right? Credit limit, okay. And then is active. When I bring this over, look at that. That's a checkbox. Okay. Now, notes I said I'd come back to. So I'm going to slide this box out of the way just for a second here. And I'm going to put notes over here on the right side. And look at that. It comes in as a big text box. Okay. Now we're done with the field list. So I'm going to close this field list. And here's my notes. Now notes, I'm going to put up here in this area over here. Watch this. I'm going to click on the label. Move your mouse over that upper left corner. See how it's a big box there? Click on that and drag it up top over the notes. The note label and the note text box can be separate from each other. See, you can move these around, but they'll still stay together. See? But it's just you can move the placement of it wherever you want. And they'll stay the same relative distance to each other. Okay, so right there, slide notes up like that, because you want more room for your notes, right? Now I'm going to take all of this stuff, and I'm going to move this over here like this. Okay, we'll slide credit limit over a touch. Maybe put is active up top up here, right? Is active like that, little checkbox. I can bring this bottom up now, because we don't need that. And then this right side, we can slide it in. See how nice and concise this form is? Unlike those big giant ones that Access tries to make. All right, maybe even click and drag a box around all of these and then slide them over to the left just a hair. Like that, see? I like to save as much space as I can. Not to make the forms tiny, but then you can fit more stuff on the screen too. The last thing I'm going to do is give this form a splash of background color. All right, so I'm going to click anywhere in the background. Notice this detail band, the detail section, gets highlighted. Come up top, click on Format, and then find this guy right there. That's the background color. I'm just going to pick something like a light blue. All right, see that? You can pick any of these objects and change their color too. Like customer ID, we can't change that value, so I like to gray it out. So I'm going to click this and pick one of the gray colors here. That just kind of visually tells the user you can't change that value. All right, our form is ready to save. I'm going to click Control S to save it, and this is going to be my customer F, my customer form. Okay, close it down, and then we're going to reopen it. Yeah, you can switch between the different views. You can switch from design view back over to form view where you can edit data right there. But I like to close things down and then reopen them. Why? It's a habit that I formed when I got a little more advanced, when I started doing programming, because some events fire when the form opens, and it's just nice to close them down and then reopen them. You get a fresh start with the form. Double click on this customer F, and look at that. There's my customer form. All you have to do now is type in data just like you would before. This shows you the first record. All right, you can tab through the fields. You can make any changes that you want in here. Let's say, for example, you want to put street in there. Just click on it and type. Here's your notes field, your is active box. If you want to go to the next record, click on this little button right there. Right? Want to add a new record? Click on this little button right there to add a new blank record. And you can come in here and type in, Sue Jones, and so on. Let's say you don't have Sue Jones's address. Tab, 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 tab. She declined to give her phone number, right? Tab. Come over here, type in family size. If you don't know all this information, don't put it in, right? Didn't get customer info. That's all. Active though. And then when you're done, close. There you go. So there's our real simple basic template. We've got a customer table and a customer form. And that is, in a nutshell, the essence of a Microsoft Access database. A table to store our information and a form to work with that information on the screen. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something today. You can find lots more templates like this one on my website. There's the address right there. Also, I'll put a link in the video description below so you can click on it. I've got lots of other templates available on my website, including this one. This is a customer list form where we have a list of all of our customers like this, and we can simply double click on one of them and it opens up that customer form. I've got other templates for making a main menu, a startup form, a contacts form, mailing labels, an order entry form, all kinds of different templates on my website. So make sure you visit today. Also, if you're new to Access, I've got a free 3-hour introduction to Microsoft Access. I call it Beginner Level 1. You can find it on my website, absolutely free. It's also on my YouTube channel. There's the link right there. Again, there will be a link in the description below so you can click on it. Absolutely free, no strings attached. Today I just tried to cover stuff quickly, but this Level 1 lesson goes over all the basics in good detail. So if you've never used Access before or if you're new, watch this class. And if you like Level 1, you can get Level 2, which is another whole hour-long lesson with some more advanced stuff in it. There's a link right there. You can get it for just $1. All right, so make sure you thumbs up, drop me a comment, subscribe to my channel. Make sure you check out my blog. There's my Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube accounts. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to contact me. There's my personal email address right there, amacron@gmail.com, or drop it in the comments section below. And thank you once again for learning with Access Learning Zone.